Good day to you one and all, it is I, Justin Hawkins, and this is Justin Hawkins Rides Again. Today I'm talking about the Verve, one of my favourite bands from the 90s. I've seen them live and it was just like one of the greatest experiences of my early 20s, I think. I really enjoyed it. Anyway, I'm going to talk specifically about the song Bittersweet Symphony, which came out in 1997. I quite liked the first Verve album, absolutely adored the second one. Had this really great stuff on it. A New Decade. You remember that one? Justin Hawkins rides again while I'm here. Again. Life's an ocean, too much emotion, too much commotion, that's it. Not enough emotion, yeah. Dragging me down. I love the Verve, it's a brilliant band. Richard Ashcroft is a great singer, I love him, he's brilliant. I mean, obviously, not to everybody's liking, and I feel like it's one of those bands that should have attained more success by the time they had their huge hits. They should have come out the gates and had massive amounts of success. Well, I think it was probably because the guys in Oasis liked them or something that people became more aware of them when the third album came out, which was called Urban Hymns. It reached number 2 in the UK singles chart, that's Bittersweet Symphony, and remained on the chart for 3 months, and you always hear it in I don't know, you hear it on TV all the time. They use it as incidental music for sports stuff sometimes, don't they? Anyway, it's the lead track on their third studio album. It's based on a sample from the Andrew Loog Oldham, Loog, are you sure that? Long? Orchestral cover of the Rolling Stones song, The Last Time. This could be the last time. And they got into a bit of trouble. I think they might have lost the publishing on this one. Mick Jagger and Keith Richards were added to the songwriting credits, and all the royalties from the song went to the former Rolling Stones manager, Alan Klein. Oh my God, it's got such a great groove, isn't it? Bittersweet symphony is life. And then if you think about the Rolling Stones. So, I mean, it's one thing to use the sample, but then I think that the melody that Richard Ashcroft chose to sing on that is really similar to the Rolling Stones original. I told you once and I told you twice, but you never listened to mine. I seem to recall that at the time he was like, well, who gives a fuck, we'll just write some more songs that are like that. And I don't think they ever actually did have a hit that was as big as that, but there was some brilliant songs on that third record. It's just that was the hit, and a lot of it is the string sample, unfortunately. Like, that's probably at its heart. It's what endeared it, I think, to everybody, really. It's a bittersweet symphony. I always love the way he looks, though. That's really cool, that sort of little leather jacket with the collar on it, like he's in Mean Streets. Remember that movie? Walking around Islington, is it? Or Hoxton? Who's that guitarist again? Is it Nick McCabe? I think it's Nick McCabe. The stuff he does is really understated, always has been. And the left-hand speaker. So. There's this part that's doing that. And then the other side has got like a lot of sort of sounds like he's on the rhythm pickup of a Les Paul maybe, and he's sort of doing some sort of more sort of ethereal soundscapery going on. Maybe even some slide work. But it's all kind of in the distance, like what the guitarists are up to are much more of a sort of peripheral effect, really. I think that's how this song differs to the things that were on the second record. There's stuff in there where the guitars are front and centre, really kicking ass. And there is some stuff on the second record that has... the second record, of course, is called A Northern Soul, and I think it's one of the best sort of indie rock albums of the 90s, really. Maybe I'll do like a top to bottom bangers episode on that, because I was really fond of that album. More so even than this third one, which had more sort of immediate songs, I think, and very moving stuff, but just didn't have the same atmosphere for me. There's just loads of stuff going on in the background. It's really vibing. It's just like a load of vibe tracks, you know? Loads of stuff just sort of washing around, like it's just more or less sounding like whale song, really. And then the thing that holds it together is the drum groove and the sample that comes in and out. There's even like an orchestral bed behind that, all of that stuff. So there's always a kind of a pad of violins and violas and stuff. And then it just kicks ass when the string part starts. In April 2019, Mick Jagger and Keith Richards ceded their rights to the song to the Verve songwriter Richard Ashcroft. They actually surrendered that, and I doubt if they back paid any of the stuff that they'd collected in that sort of 24-year period. But I think that was the right thing to do, really. This is a great song in its own right. I mean, obviously it's inspired by and it's taken elements of the melody and stuff, but it is such a unique production that it kind of deserves that, really. So I think Mick Jagger and Keith Richards did the right thing. Bittersweet Symphony was named Rolling Stone and the NME Single of the Year for 1997, was considered one of the defining songs of the Britpop era. I would say it's late in the Britpop era. Yeah, I think there was a lot of stuff happening in the mid-90s that was probably more, you know, in the heart of Britpop, and this is probably one of the things that brought it to an end, really, in a good way. I mean, it's sort of like, where do you go from here? The video is really iconic. It's Richard Ashcroft walking down Hoxton Street in East London, ignoring everybody he passes. Gets a bit argy-bargy, you know, but that's East London at that time. I've always loved that line. I need to hear some sounds that recognise the pain in me. That's it, isn't it? It's like, isn't that one of the reasons why we listen to music? It's brilliant. He really used to mean the things he was saying. I quite like some of his solo stuff as well, actually. I must admit I'm a bit of a Richard Ashcroft enthusiast. So he's letting the melody shine, and shine was always... What is the shine? You know, you hear it so often in like a Oasis. Shine! We always say it to each other now. I think it just means... feel good, or behave in a way that demonstrates some good feeling. I don't know. Is it, or is it like a 90s version of sort of, you know, he's got that bloke walk when, like, I used to think that, like, the tougher you are, the more your legs sort of kick out when you're walking along. Because you're taking up more of the pavement for a start. So I think this video is like a real distillation of that attitude, you know, the little bloke walk. But I think he's probably quite tall, isn't he? So yeah, I think this song is kind of like the lyric seems to be talking about like how shit music on the radio was at the time. Like he's sort of talking about he needs to hear some sounds that recognise the pain in him, but the airwaves are clean and there's nobody singing to him. I think at that time, like think about 1997. It's coming to the end of Britpop. There's probably a lot of 90s dance influenced stuff, a lot of boy band stuff. I reckon that's probably the period of time when Take That are up and running and doing stuff. And it's probably the time old concern that people of a certain mindset aren't being catered to by the mainstream. So it's like outsider rock, but with violins. And then when he does like those sort of counter lines, this life, that really is the Mick Jagger approach to a backing vocal. If you think about Mick Jagger's contribution to You're So Vain, you know, the way he's not harmonising, he's got his own sort of counter melody happening simultaneously with the main one. It feels like when you hear like a Verve song like this, it's a vibe. It's him just vibing, just throwing his stream of consciousness down, and one of them's a melody, the other one is just him pissing about, basically, in a good way. I mean, it's like just him singing what's in his heart and what he's feeling in the moment. At that time, he was a legit force to be reckoned with creatively. He was always talking about death as well. He was always the darker of the kind of, I don't know, northern guitar rock singers of that time. You can see it in his face, like, look at his attitude. He never smiles. Nearly, that's kind of a smile. 3 minutes 45, he kind of almost smiles. But off to the side, he's probably remembering something from his childhood. Oh. Got a phone call. I always think that it's a shame that Bittersweet Symphony came at a time when Richard Ashcroft was at the creative apex of his career and just doing brilliant stuff, because then the Stones took it because it was more or less their melody in the main part of the verse, and it was obviously like probably an unlicensed sample that was the main crux of the production itself. So it's really unfortunate, but a great song and a great moment by what was at that time a great band. As I said before, I saw them live and it was just amazing. I really enjoyed it. So I'll do a whole episode on A Northern Soul, which is the album that precedes this one. And I think you will enjoy, so please do enjoy the Verve Bittersweet Symphony. Justin Hawkins writes again. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, watch one of these two videos. Nice one, guys. See you on the eyes.